Shalom, shalom to the family. Street baptism back with more knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we believe comes directly from the Father through his son, Yeshua, Yahusha, or Yahushua HaMashiach. Whichever pronunciation one decides to use is all right according to the word of God, as long as you call on the Father in the name of his only begotten, and that's the truth according to his word. Much love to the family and the individuals trying to follow in the footsteps of the Messiah and live how he lived while he was here in truth and sincerity by way of humility. Street baptism is back. Praise Yah. We back with another video concerning Hebrew language elements, and this is going to be a review because if you check out the Hebrew language elements playlist, we already have 22 videos, which means we've gone through every basic element or tenet of each specific Hebrew character. Praise the Creator. It's 22 Hebrew characters or letters, and so that's why we have 22 videos. This is going to be video number 23, and this is going to be a review of the 22 characters slash, forgive me, a review slash, is Yiddish the same as Hebrew, or Yiddish is not Hebrew, or Hebrew is not Yiddish, because that's a fact. People need to stop saying this. This is one of the hugest misconceptions or biggest lies taught throughout the quote-unquote Hebrew community, or the quote-unquote Hebrew Israelite community, or just the Israelite community. Either way, more than 90+% of individuals, maybe I'm looking at this from a quote-unquote camp perspective, but in between about 80 to 90% of Israelites or Hebrews or Hebrew Israelites, quote unquote, believe that Hebrew is the same as Yiddish. And it shows, this amongst other things shows that we don't study. We really don't study. We just regurgitate and we take whatever somebody tell us. And that's unfortunate. And so what we're trying to do on this YouTube channel, praise God, is teach people how to learn so they can teach better. And so let's get started. Here we have a photo or a picture from Etz Chaim, WordPress.com. And as we can see, we see Aleph, Beit, Yemel, Dalet, Hey, Wav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Re, Shin, Tav. We talked about all of these characters. We talked about the Sofit characters. And you have the Nun Sofit, the Mem Sofit, the Kaf Sofit. Sofit means ending or final. You have the Mem, the Nun, the Kaf, the Pei, and the Sade. They all five of these characters have final forms, which means they have forms that pop up when they're at the end of a word that are contrary or different from what these five characters look like when they're at the beginning of the word or inside the word, but not the last character. Praise the Creator. We talked about pictographs. We talked about the difference between the pictographs and the paleo script, the modern script, the square script, and that's what we see in here. We're seeing the modern or the square script or the Aramaic script. You could call it either one of those names. Yiddish does not suffice. It's not Yiddish, but square script, modern script, Aramaic script, that's all right. That's what you're looking at here. We talked about the numeric equivalents. And so you got for Aleph 1, for Beit you got 2, Gimel you got 3. You go all the way up to 10 with the Yud or the Yod, and then from 10 it goes up 10. So you got 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up into the Kuf, which gets you to 100, and then from 100 you get Resh with 200, Sheen with 300, or Seen with 300, and Tal with 400. Praise the Creator. So from 1 to 400 we have Hebrew numeric equivalents. Greek, by the way, also has numeric equivalents. English does not have any numeric equivalents because by the time we got to where we are now in modern times, one, the reason why there's no numeric equivalents or no meanings attached to the Latin characters in the quote-unquote English alphabet, or the Latin characters in the Latin alphabet that we use for the English language, is because a lot of things are hidden. And most things on earth are hidden in words. In fact, that's where all things begin to be hidden, in words. Praise the Creator. And this is why we study etymology, the truth of the definition of words, or the study of the truth of the definitions of words. Praise the Creator. Let's go back. So we talked about this. Paleo. Let's look at this. It says Proto-Hebrew or Aramaic, which is also another name for the Paleo script, the Paleo Hebrew script. And this is what we see. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Wav, Zayin. As y'all can see, the script looks different. It doesn't look square. This is a different example from Omniglot. This is from Forum Ancient Coins, by the way. And y'all can see the pictographs right here. This is from Hebrew for Christians, a website. These are all of these pictures that I'm pulling up are accurate 99.9%. Praise the Creator. But we talked about all these, and this is just a review. It's just a review. And so y'all, get on y'all Hebrew. Get on y'all Hebrew, man. Get on y'all Hebrew, because when you understand and learn the Hebrew language, you're going to have a easier time understanding and learning the Bible. If you faking the funk, as they say with the language, you're faking the funk with your understanding of the Bible. And a lot of us, even if you really at the point where you believe, we ain't really got to go into the language. Some people use this passage, or rather this scripture here in Isaiah chapter 28. And this is also going to be a part of the playlist, Misuse, Miscomprehended Scripts. But what happens is people use verse 11, for with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. And people use this scripture in reference to the fact that the Creator placed his word in another language. And so with that, they use that as an excuse, because it is true. We're not speaking Hebrew anymore. The main languages on earth, English, Spanish. We need the word of God in these languages. Praise the Creator. But people use this verse as an excuse to say, well, we ain't got to learn in Hebrew, because this is why the Creator put his word, or placed his word, in various other languages, chiefly the English. But that's not true, because whenever we attempt to talk to people about how the Bible was not changed and how they didn't take stuff out or add stuff in, or the text is not corrupted, we have to go into the language for that. We have to talk about the Hebrew and the Greek. We got to talk about the Latin, because we got to go into the history of the text. You got to talk about the Septuagint. If you haven't checked out the video we did concerning the Septuagint and Charles Lee Brenton Septuagint, as opposed to the Septuagint of in between 300 and 200 BCE, check that video out. But you have to go into all these texts, the Masoretic text. What is the Aleppo Codex? What is the Leningrad Codex? What are these things? Praise the Creator. What is a codex or a codice? What are codices? What is a scroll? What's the difference? Praise the Creator. When did the scroll begin to be removed out of use, slowly but surely, or gradually, and the codices begin to be implemented more? This is history that you need to be keen to if you're going to be talking about the text of the Bible. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of us talk about Hebrew. We talk about how we Hebrews. We talk about the language. We talk about how people stole our culture. But the main thing about being a Hebrew that you should understand is the language. Because every people's or every nation group's language, it tells you exactly how they think. It tells you exactly what their culture is. It tells you exactly how to conceptualize things and how they're going to move. Praise the Creator, amongst other things. And so let's do this real quick. Taylor. Let's look up Yiddish. Praise the Creator. It says Yiddish, a high German-derived language used by Ashkenazi or Ashkenazim Jews. Yiddish. It says Yiddish. Yiddish or Yiddish. Literally Jewish. Historically also Yiddish Teicht, which is literally Judeo-German. This Yiddish is a West Germanic language historically spoken by Ashkenazi or Ashkenazim, that's plural, Jews. It originates from the 9th century or the 800s AD or CE. Central Europe, providing the nascent Ashkenazi community with a vernacular based on High German, fused with many elements taken from Hebrew, notably Mishnaic Hebrew, and to some extent Aramaic. Okay, we just want to look up this word real quick because that was kind of a curveball. It said this Jewish community was nascent. From the 1620s, it's an adjective, meaning it's a descriptive word, is describing in the act of being born. From 1706, in the figurative sense of beginning to exist or grow. Going ultimately back to the Proto-Indo-European root gene or gene, which means to give birth or to beget. So this means that this growing, this Jewish community or this Yiddish community or this Judeo-German community was growing. Again, I'll read it. Central Europe providing the nascent Ashkenazi or the growing or the birthing or developing Ashkenazi community with a vernacular based on High German fused with many elements taken from Hebrew. This vernacular is based on the High German, fused with many elements taken from Hebrew, notably Mishnaic and to some extent Aramaic. Most varieties of Yiddish include elements of Slavic languages, and the vocabulary contains traces of Romance languages. It says Yiddish has traditionally been written using the Hebrew alphabet. Hold on, y'all. Yiddish has traditionally been written, meaning the script utilized to express this language in speech is the Hebrew alphabet. Listen, y'all, this is one of the main reasons, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons why people think that Hebrew is the same as Yiddish. Because you see the text, you see the script, you hear the Yiddish, but because you see the Hebrew script, you think that Yiddish is Hebrew. It's the same. It's not the same. It's the equivalent to the English alphabet, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Being the English alphabet is not really the English alphabet. It's the Latin alphabet with some add-ons. Just like the French, just like the Spanish. These are alphabets or alphabets or character lists that have been, let's say, specified for specific people groups, or they have been laid out in a specific or particular manner, even though they come from the same base, going back to the Greek, even the Latin going back to the Greek, ultimately going back to the Hebrew. They have the same base. Praise the Creator, but they have different nuances. That's a word. That's a good word. That's the word I'm looking for. Praise the Creator. It says, however, there are variations, including the standardized YOVO orthography or YIVO orthography that employs the Latin alphabet. Praise the Creator. And so Romance languages include Romanian, French, Portuguese, Spanish, I believe Italian, and I might be leaving one or two out. But these are what you call, it says the vocabulary contains traces of Romance languages. Those are the Romance languages. Stemming from Latin, Latin going back to Greek, Greek going back to Hebrew, and Hebrew going back to Edenics, which is the language that Adam was speaking in the Garden of Eden. Praise the Creator. We'll talk about that a little later down the line in depth. But the point is to show this right here. What we reading. And here y'all can see this. It says the opening page of the 1828 Yiddish written Jewish holiday of Purim play, Esther. And then there's some German, some High German or some Yiddish there. I won't even attempt to read it, even though I could. Let's read this. Prior to or before World War II, there were 11 to 13 million speakers of Yiddish. 8 to 5% of the approximately 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, we'll talk about that later too, were Yiddish speakers, leading to a massive decline in the use of the language. Assimilation following World War II and Aliyah, immigration to Israel, or ascendancy, that's what Aliyah means, to ascend or go up to Israel. Forgive me. It says further decreased the use of Yiddish among survivors after adapting to Hebrew in Israel. And so when you study Zionism, which is the idea that all Israelites or all Jews should live in the land of Israel, going back to Theodore Herzl, and even a little earlier than that with other pioneers in the late 1800s. Praise the Creator. You learn that it was various people going to the promised land, what they call the promised land or Israel. They were converting or switching over from Yiddish to Hebrew. And so this is one way historically, linguistically, to track whether or not Yiddish and Hebrew is the same language, and to track how many people have been speaking it, or how many people speak it now, or how many people were speaking it. Praise the Creator. This is some good information, y'all. Let's keep going. However, the number of Yiddish speakers is increasing in Hasidic communities. This is a specific Jewish community, or a kind of Jewish belief amongst Jews. In 2014, YOVO stated that most people who speak Yiddish in their daily lives are Hasidim and other Haredim, whose population was estimated at the time to be between 500,000 and 1 million. A 2021 estimate from Rutgers University was that there were 250,000 American speakers of Yiddish, 250,000 Israeli speakers, and 100,000 in the rest of the world, for a total of 600,000. Praise the Creator. All right, let's read a little bit more. The earlier surviving references date from the 12th century and call the language Lishon Ashkenaz, or the language of Ashkenaz, or Taisht, a variant of Teucht, the contemporary name for Middle High German. And this is what we saw at the top. In the explanation here, it literally says Yiddish Taisht, or Judeo-German, or Judeo-High German. Colloquially, the language is sometimes called Mame or Mame Loshon, literally the mother tongue, distinguishing it from Lishon Kodesh, which is holy tongue, or as some brothers would say, Lashawan Kodash, for the paleo, quote unquote, paleo Hebrew pronunciation. All right, it says the term Yiddish, short for Yiddish Taisht, or Jewish German, did not become the most frequently used. Holy tongue, meaning Hebrew and Aramaic. The term Yiddish, short for Yiddish Taisht, Jewish German, did not become the most frequently used designation in the literature until the 18th century or the 1700s. In the late 19th and into the 20th century, the language was more commonly called Jewish, especially in non-Jewish contexts. But Yiddish is again the most common designation today. Praise the Creator. And then it talks about how you have two major forms, Eastern and Western Yiddish. But the point is this, y'all. Hebrew is not the same as Yiddish. It's not the same. Forgive me, y'all. Here we're back with this simplified Hebrew grammar PDF. We're just about to look up look up some more information. Praise the Creator. And so I talked about this simplified Hebrew grammar PDF by Justin T. Alfred that was added to the Blue Letter Bible application 5/10/2022. May 10th, 2022. Praise the Creator. And so y'all can see all this information here. We're gonna go through this. We're gonna go through this soon. I have to do a book review on Jeff A. Benner's book, but we're gonna do a book review concerning his book in regards to the Paleo Hebrew, or the pictographs, or the culture, understanding the ancient Hebrew language and alphabet in relation to the culture. But we're gonna go over that. We're gonna go over this after that. But let's read this. Section 2, word formation. This is page 7 in the PDF. Hebrew, unlike Greek, has no letters that remotely compare to any English letters. Now, that's not true, because we can track English back to Hebrew as we can do every other language on earth. But let's keep going. Thus, it is a bit more difficult at first to associate the letters with the correct sound in word formations. And so Dalet would be equivalent to a D, Aleph will be equivalent to an A, Pei will be equivalent to P or F. Praise the Creator. Sheen or Seen would be equivalent to S. Y will be equivalent to W or U or O. Praise the Creator. We can keep going all day with that. Let's keep going. Thus, it is a bit more difficult to at first to associate the letters with the correct sound in word formations. In addition, unlike Greek as well, Hebrew does not have any vowel letters. That can kind of be disputed depending on what you're speaking about, except for the sounds there, which help to form vowel sounds with certain vowel marks. Okay. It says, thus, from about the beginning of the 7th century AD, or the 600s AD, toward the end of the 10th century AD, a major effort was undertaken to produce what is today called the Masoretic text of the Hebrew Bible, as the following quote explains. Now, let's read this. Masoretic or Masoretic text, the standard or traditional Hebrew text of the Bible as preserved by the Masoretes, a group of rabbinic scholars active circa 600 and between 600 AD or CE and 950 CE. There is, however, more than one version of the Masoretic text. By the way, concerning what we was just reading about the Yiddish started to pop up around 800, in between 800 and 900 CE. So this is happening, a part of this is happening around somewhat of the same time. Okay, so it says there is, however, more than one version of the Masoretic text. First, there were three major groups of Masoretes in Palestine or near Jerusalem, in Babylonia or Babylonian near Babylon, or in Mesopotamia, and Tiberian near the Sea of Galilee, near the city of Tiberias, or within the city of Tiberias. It says of these, Tiberian Masoretes gained prominence. So of these three groups, Tiberian Masoretes gained the most steam. Praise the Creator. It says, so the Tiberian Masoretic text, so the Tiberian version of the Hebrew Bible is usually associated with what we call the Masoretic text today. Beyond this, however, the Tiberian Masoretes differed on minor matters and produced a number of slightly different texts. So you have the Tiberian Masoretes that gained the most prominence, but you'd have different families amongst even those Masoretes in those cities. Praise the Creator. So now it says, beyond this, however, the Tiberian Masoretes differed on minor matters and produced a number of slightly different texts. Those produced by the family of Aaron ben Asher came to be regarded as the best, and these are preserved today in two frequently consulted manuscripts, the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad Codex. Both of these contain not only the text of the Bible written out in Hebrew consonants, but also vowels and accent signs determined to be appropriate by the Masoretes. Further, both the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad Codex contain numerous Masorah, which are numbers and abbreviations that occur as notes in the margins and other key points in the text. The Masoretic text of the Bible, as preserved especially in the Leningrad Codex, forms the primary basis for most English Bible translations, including the NRSV or the New Revised Standard Version. Although manuscripts of the LXX or Septuagint are also consulted and sometimes given preference when the reading preserved there is believed to represent a more ancient tradition, because the Masoretic text we have now is from about 900, in between 900 and 1000 CE. And the Septuagint, even though it's Greek, comes from about 1300 years before that, around about in between 300 and 200, or 350 and 250 BC or BCE. Praise the Creator. And so what we just learned here with this is that the Masoretes came up. Hold on real quick. And so this is something fairly new. I'm going to just read this. The Masoretes were Jewish scribes. This is from AI Overview. The Masoretes were Jewish scribes and scholars who worked from the 6th to 10th century CE, as we just read, to preserve the Hebrew Bible's original text. Their work took place in Babylonia and Palestine, with the most famous community in Tiberias, Israel. We just read that. The name, by the way, that reference that we read, just real quick, this is a reference in itself, or a source in itself, the Simplified Hebrew Grammar PDF. But as y'all can see, this one right here is going to provide to you a reference. And so this came from Bruce M. Metzger, Masoretic text in the HarperCollins Bible Dictionary, revised and updated from 2011. So you have a source within a source, or a reference within a source. And it's matching up with this here is matching up with what we just read there. It says the name Masoretes comes from the Hebrew word Masorah, which means tradition. Their goal was to uphold Jewish traditions by creating a single, consistent text of the Torah. Praise the Creator. The Masoretes' work included writing down the text, adding vowel signs, adding cancellation marks, cant, which means to chant, meaning how to sing the text or how to pronounce it in song, adding notes, establishing rules for pronunciation, correct spelling and reading, creating a system of chanting symbols, and adding white spaces between words. The Masoretes' work is the basis for for most Protestant translations of the Old Testament, including the King James Version, the New American Standard Bible or the NASB, the English Standard Version or the ESV, and the New International Version or the NIV. The Masoretic text is universally accepted as the authentic Hebrew Bible because of the work that was put in by these Masoretes. And now, why is this important as it pertains to is Yiddish the same as Hebrew? Because Yiddish has its own means of pronunciation. It's a High German language. With that being said, around the same time they were creating or formulating the start of that pronunciation in Germany for the Ashkenazim Jews, the Masoretes were evolving their own means of pronunciation in different regions, because High German implies Germany. That's Western or Central Europe. We're talking about what they call today the Middle East, Tiberias, Galilee. If you're talking about the Babylonian Masoretes, you're talking about Mesopotamia, that's further east. If you're talking about the Palestinian Masoretes, that's south of Galilee, near Egypt or the Sinai Peninsula, or northwest of Saudi Arabia or the Arabian Desert, nowhere near Germany. So you have two pronunciations evolving at two different time periods. It cannot be the same. Praise the Creator. Yiddish is not Hebrew. Let's keep going, actually. And here, this is from Wiki. Y'all can read some more about the Masoretes from Wiki. Y'all can read more about the vowel points and the Nakudo. Praise the Creator. But now let's look at this. This is one example. This is probably one of the first things I go to as it pertains to whether or not Yiddish is the same as Hebrew. Because in the Bible, you have Hebrew numbers. In fact, let's do that. Forgive me. Biblical numbers. Probably could have did that easier, but I'm doing it this way. Let's see. Actually, my fault. Okay. Hebrew numbers. All right, here we go. And so in the Bible, this is from Zondervan Academic. In the Bible, you have numbers that pop up over and over and over in a repetitive fashion. Praise the Creator. And so one would be echad. This is the absolute form. The construct form is echad. Praise the Creator. We'll get into the absolute form of verbs or terms, the construct form, what sequential imperfect means, what sequential perfect means, and all the rest of these things as it pertains to the language. Nouns, adjective, verbs, prefixes, infixes, suffixes. We just got to be patient so we can learn this information properly and leave nothing out, or include as much in as possible and leave the least amount out. Praise the Creator. And so 2 would be Shanaim or Shanae. That's the construct. 3, Shalosh. 4, Arva or Arba. 5, Hamesh, which is related to the term Humash, which is a reference to the first 5 books of the Bible. And you can buy a Chumash, which will only be the first 5 books. Praise the Creator. 6, Shesh. 7, Sheva. 8, Shemone. Praise the Creator. 9, Teshah. 10, Eser. Now, these are Hebrew numbers. All right. That you find in the Bible. Now, if Hebrew is the same as Yiddish, we should see the same numbers. But no, y'all. All this takes is a quick engine search. Whatever engine you got, Google, Safari, or what Safari, I don't know what they call it on the iPhones, because I don't have one, never had one. But whatever search engine that you have, shoot, you could still be using Firefox. Praise the Creator. It does not matter. Yiddish numbers. 1 is eins. 2 is zwei. 3 is drei. 4 is vier. 5 is fünf. 6 is sechs. 7 is sieben. 8 is acht. 9 is nine. 10 is sin. And as y'all can probably tell, you might be going through this like, man, these numbers all sound a good amount like English numbers. And that's because English is also a Germanic language. Here we go to another overview from AI. English is considered a Germanic language because it shares many innovations with other Germanic languages such as German, Dutch, and Swedish. These innovations indicate that the languages all come from a common ancestor called Proto-Germanic, which was spoken in Scandinavia, northern Germany, and along the Baltic and North Sea coast during the Iron Age. Here you go again. Wikipedia. English is a West Germanic language in the Indo-European language family, whose speakers, called Anglophones, originated in early medieval England on the island of Great Britain. The namesake of the language is the Angles or the English, one of the ancient Germanic peoples that migrated to Britain. And so this is why Yiddish numbers sound similar to English numbers. The English that we have today pushed through four major languages, or four main languages, to become the English that we know it as today. Greek, Latin, French, and German, or Greek, Latin, German, and French. That's a fact. These are the main four languages, not the only four. And if you constantly or continuously use a etymological dictionary, or you look into etymology, when you look into various words, you will see origins, the main origins being Greek, Latin, French, and German. For example, the etymology for think, Proto-Germanic. But the etymology for other words, like other common words, like let's say number, for example. Or in fact, the word we were just looking at, Proto-Indo-European root, but it goes back to Latin. Let's just look up a basic word, toxic. Random word, adjective. Y'all can see right there. English to French to Latin. Ultimately, it's going to take you back to the Proto-Indo-European root tech, which means to run or to flee. You could just do this all day. Rap. Scandinavian, as y'all can see right there. Just looking at etymology, y'all. Expendable, to expend. Latin, taking you back to Latin. And so this is a fact, y'all. Yiddish is not the same as Hebrew. English use. Y'all, stop saying that Yiddish is Hebrew. Giving these what they would call the small hats, or these little hats, or these quote unquote Jews too much credit. Here we go. Another AI overview. Yes, the English language uses a Latin script alphabet, which is also known as the Roman alphabet. The Latin alphabet is the most widely used alphabetic writing system in the world and is the standard script for English and most European languages. The English alphabet has 26 letters, each with uppercase and lowercase forms, and most of its letter symbols come from the Latin language, which come from the Greek language, which come from the Hebrew language, which takes you back to Edenics. Praise the Creator. However, the English alphabet also has some Germanic influences. Praise the Creator. There's some more history on that. Man, y'all can just look this up. It really is simple to look into. And just real quick. And so what I did was I typed in learn Yiddish while you sleep. And as y'all can see right here, there's a 8-hour video, almost 8.5 hours, All you gotta do is sit and listen to it. You can tell that Yiddish is not the same as Hebrew. There's different words for day. The Hebrew word for day is yom. Some brothers would say yawam. It's not the same in Yiddish. The Hebrew numbers are different than Yiddish numbers. Common basic words that you find, what they say right there, shalom aleichem. Shalom aleichem. And so somebody would think that that's Hebrew. See, shalom the same. It is not the same. Some of the terms are the same, yes. But even in English, how we speak, you have certain terms that are Yiddish and you don't even know that they're Yiddish. Like spiel, for example. What's your spiel on a circumstance? That's a Yiddish term. If I'm not mistaken, forte, as in dagesh forte, as in learning biblical Hebrew. Dagesh forte versus dagesh lene. Dagesh lene is weak dagesh. Dagesh forte is strong dagesh, because if you say that's not my forte, you saying that's not your strength. Forte means strong dagesh. Lean means weak. That's why a dagesh lene is a weak dagesh. When you learn more about biblical Hebrew or Hebrew, true Hebrew, you will learn more about that. The point I'm making is I think forte is a term utilized in Hebrew and Yiddish. So because these people, quote unquote, are the same, where they claim to be the same people, even though Yiddish and Hebrew are two different languages, some of the terms are the same that they utilize. As y'all can see, good morning right there. There's no Boker Tov. Just for example, it's running through right now as we on here. It do not say the same thing. It's not the same. Praise the Creator. With that being said, we'll get into more of this later. Hopefully this was informative. I'm just really trying to get people to see. That's what we're trying to do here at Street Baptism. Hebrew is not Yiddish. If you think that Hebrew is Yiddish, you're going to discredit the language, thinking that, that's what them fake Jews do. Or whatever people decide to say out their mind based on the belief that they have about things on earth. Yiddish is not the same as Hebrew. All it takes is a quick Google search. We looked up a good amount of information in about 30 minutes. Praise the Creator. Y'all, watch this video or listen to it. Sit there and listen to it and try to make comparisons between what you read in the Bible in Hebrew and what Yiddish sounds like. But these are not the same languages. We'll talk about more of this later down the line. Again, hopefully this was informative and helpful. With that being said, much love to the family. Shalom, shalom. Street Baptism.